This morning I heard the people in Washington babbling again. They think we are stupid. What is the truth? The truth is a US KC-135 refueling aircraft just crashed into the ground in Iraq. An incident in friendly airspace, they say, not because of hostile fire, not friendly fire either. Listen, those planes are the backbone of the Air Force. They are among its oldest, most heavily used airframes. We are throwing our at least three-person crews into dangerous missions, performing challenging air-to-air refueling maneuvers in bad weather, in high winds, out in the isolated desert of western Iraq. For what? To serve the national interest? Ridiculous. This is a waste of American lives for the endless wars of the neocons and the Uniparty. This is the fourth manned aircraft to go down since this so-called Operation Epic Fury began in late February. 3 F-15E Strike Eagle fighters were shot down by Kuwaiti Fa-18 aircraft in a catastrophic friendly fire incident earlier in March. It is a catastrophe. Our forces are stretched to the breaking point. Let's be frank. Our presence there does not make America safe. It only creates targets. It is exactly like we are repeating our asinine mistakes from Vietnam. But this time in the sand, we have no clear purpose, we have no viable method, and we certainly have no end state that brings victory. The children at the Pentagon are playing games with soldiers' lives. They refuse to look at the battlefield truth. Investigators suspect a mid-air collision between two KC-135s. The details are still murky, but a search and rescue effort is ongoing for the downed crew. A tragedy that was entirely avoidable if we cared about our own borders instead of interfering in the Middle East. Let us look at the map. Geography is destiny. Russia is a land power. America is a maritime power. And in the Gulf, the adversary holds the choke point. Iran has begun laying mines in the Strait of Hormuz, the strategic waterway that carries 20% of the world's oil. The U.S. military proudly boasts that it destroyed larger Iranian naval vessels. But the brutal truth is that Iran only needs to use smaller boats to lay mines, paralyzing this waterway. It is a cheap, asymmetrical method, a classic denial of access strategy. Their new supreme leader, Mojtaba Khamenei, has ordered his military to keep blocking the strait, vowing to avenge the blood of their martyrs from the U.S.-Israeli strikes. Can we stop them with a few Tomahawk cruise missiles? No, never. The mathematics do not allow it. They have the home field advantage. They have integrated air defenses, and they have time. Meanwhile, oil tankers are burning off the coast of Iraq. The Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps bluntly attacked a Marshall Islands flagged ship owned by an American company, claiming the ship disobeyed and ignored their warnings. At least one person died. Iraqi oil terminal operations are suspended. It's finished. I repeat, it's over. The absolute Western control over the Gulf is finished. The globalists think they can run the world with aircraft carriers, but wars are not won by threats on television. They are won by logistics, and our logistics are bleeding. Despite hollow promises of releasing emergency reserves, oil prices have surged. The elites are panicking. For the past 2 weeks, at least 16 cargo ships and commercial oil tankers have been attacked. It is a war of attrition. And in a war of attrition in the adversary's backyard, the maritime power always loses when supply lines are cut. Now, let us talk about the hypocrisy and the sheer stupidity of the sanctions policy. Washington just had to hastily lift sanctions on Russian oil currently stranded at sea. Why? Because of democracy. Laughable. Because of money. Because of the survival of a fragile financial system. They are desperate. The war in Iran is pushing energy prices to hover near $100 a barrel. They hope hundreds of millions of barrels of Russian crude can save the global market from collapse. About 130 million barrels of Russian oil are currently at sea. The sanctions they loudly preach since 2022, the price cap efforts, the crackdown on Russia's shadow fleet, all torn to shreds by a Treasury Department signature, lasting through April 11th. It is delusional for Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent to claim Russia will not significantly benefit from this, even though he was forced to admit the brutal reality that Moscow will see some financial gain. The Russian defense industry is running 24/7. They are producing 150mm artillery shells by the millions. They are building Iskander and Kinjal ballistic missiles. They are dropping FAB 3000 glide bombs. And they control vast energy resources. And us, we are struggling to keep a handful of Abrams tanks running. Our Patriot batteries are depleted. We shoot ourselves in the foot with meaningless sanctions. This action not only exposes the failure of economic warfare, it also deepens the divide between the United States and Europe. Our allies are growing skeptical of this costly war. Top Senate Democrats are screaming in protest, accusing the president of appeasing Russia to fix a war that is making Americans pay record prices at the pump. This is a complete collapse of economic strategy, just like the Third Reich opening too many fronts without adequate logistical resources. The German Wehrmacht thought they could ignore the physics of winter and distance. They were wrong. Washington thinks it can ignore the physics of industrial capacity and geography. They are equally wrong. The Russian oil sanctions are effectively destroyed. The brutal truth is that a multipolar world is operating. The deception of Washington cannot hide the fact that we must use our adversary's oil to extinguish the fire of our own mistakes. Let us move to the actual battlefield, where the meat grinder operates at full capacity, consuming billions of taxpayer dollars. The Israeli military is relentlessly pounding the capitals of Iran and Lebanon, destroying toll plazas and threatening relief centers in Tehran. More than 700 people are dead in Lebanon, over 800,000 displaced, including 200,000 children. In Iran, the civilian death toll has exceeded 1,348, and up to 3.2 million people are displaced. Thick plumes of smoke rise in the middle of Beirut, hitting vibrant neighborhoods, high-end restaurants, and high schools, hitting the campus of Lebanese University, killing professors like Dr. Hussein Bazi. An entire nation is being leveled. Lebanese Prime Minister Nawaf Salam had to go on television to beg that his country not become an open arena for the wars of others. But let us ask the core question: what is the end state? Mr. Netanyahu shamelessly admits he cannot be certain the Iranian people will topple their regime from within. So what are we funding the bombs for? We are creating new generations of enemies. A good general knows when to stop. Look at General U.S. Grant. He understood the brutal mathematics of a meat grinder. He knew it was about attrition, about logistics, about crushing the enemy's ability to wage war, not about political grandstanding. Or look at Eisenhower. He kept a cool head. He avoided getting bogged down in useless proxy wars. He understood strategic defense. He pushed for the Austrian State Treaty of 1955 to create a neutral buffer. That is statecraft, but not the politicians in Washington. Their strings are pulled by donors. They drain our arsenals. They expend Patriot interceptors and precision-guided munitions just to flatten buildings, while the real enemy disperses in deep tunnels. Even French soldiers training Iraqi partners in counterterrorism are taking hits in Erbil. One officer died. 6 soldiers wounded by a drone strike. President Macron says the war in Iran cannot justify these attacks. Naive. When you walk into a chaotic theater, you catch bullets. It is a law of physics. The national interest of America lies at our southern border, not in the sands of the Middle East. The West is tying itself into a deadly knot. It's finished. It's over. The end point is blatantly obvious to anyone with enough brains to look at the mathematics of war.